Welcome to Self-Defense 2.0. Why Self-Defense 2.0? Well, today we're going to teach you a symbiosis consisting of self-assertiveness and self-defense. These two things have to go together in order to be safe in any given situation. You're going to learn how to use your posture, how to use your voice in order to be safe, and if need be, also how to use your fists. Let's do this. Everything we do here has something to do with your safety, and I have a very charming team of assistants that are going to guide you through the process. Now, if you should see us work with pads and you should not have a striking pad at home, most people don't, then you can use a cushion or a pillow to train. Grab your spouse or grab somebody living with you and motivate them to train with you so that you always have a partner. But a word of caution, make sure to be careful when you train with your partner. Some of the techniques that we do here are extremely dangerous when applied properly, so you want to make sure that you leave your partner in one piece when they are kind enough to practice with you. So have fun working, have fun practicing, go through the material over and over again, and have fun. Talk to you soon. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever witnessed a real fight? Or have you ever been involved in a real fight? What happens there is what I want to know from you right now. When I ask this question in classes, then usually people tell me, well, people smack talk each other and then one hits the other guy. Yes, but no. There are a lot of factors that actually happen prior to this, and we can make use of these factors. What do I mean by that? Well, if you take a look at an aggressor, and the first thing that he actually has to do in order to find someone that he can hurt is he has to see that person, right? So what I do here right now is I look to the left, I look to the right. This is not significant for you as the viewer, but once I rest my gaze on the camera for more than 1.5 seconds, you know I mean you. And now is the situation where you can do something in order to de-escalate or to escalate the situation. Now just put yourself into this situation. Somebody approaches you and looks at you in a very aggressive manner. And you wonder, what is going on here? You start feeling uncomfortable, right? And you wonder, what does this guy want from me? Now what can you do in this scenario in order to de-escalate the situation? Which means that you have the chance to go home unharmed, and so does the aggressor. Well, one thing that you could do is, if there is still a large distance between yourself and the aggressor, is to just look away. Right? I'm not looking at the camera at the moment, but I'm still aware of the fact that the camera is right there. So this is something I could do. I could just look away and then remove myself from the situation, from the place, from the room. It's much more difficult, of course, when the partner or the aggressor is already very close to me. Let's picture a scenario where I'm in a bar and I'm holding my glass of soda and somebody approaches me. I'm in a conversation with somebody else and all of a sudden I sense that somebody is coming to me and I see that he is looking at me in a very aggressive fashion. Then of course the natural thing would be to look at that person in order to investigate why he's looking at me in this way. However, if it is clear to you that this is a provocation, then you want to get away from this situation as quickly as possible. So one thing you can do, despite the fact that he's extremely close to you, is you can still look away in order not to meet his eyes, in order not to respond to the way that he looks at you, and you can still see what is going on from the peripheral vision over here, which also means that you can see if he should start any kind of attack and respond appropriately, and then remove yourself from the situation. However, this doesn't work every time, and if it doesn't work, then we're finding ourselves in the next phase. But what exactly is it that happens in this scenario? I mean, just put yourself into the situation, right? You're here at your bar having a nice conversation, haven't done anything to aggravate someone, and all of a sudden you see that someone's approaching you in a very aggressive fashion and he means business. What do you do now? We just spoke about trying to remove yourself from the situation, but that's not always possible. What's the next thing that happens if you can't manage to get away from there? That's right, he approaches you and he starts talking to you, he starts smack talking to you. And that's not in a nice way. He usually says things like, what you looking at? You got a problem with me? You want a piece of me? These are the very eloquent and very intelligent sentences rolling out of his mouth, right? What's important though is that this Q&A session He's trying to put you into a question and answer session. It's just a means to dominate the situation. He wants to dominate you by asking those questions about things that you probably never did. Now, once you respond to these questions, you have already lost the game, because he is the question asker, and therefore he is the person controlling that situation. What you could do instead, and what you should do instead, is the following. Find a word, find a quote, something that we use as a trigger. And whenever we use this trigger sentence or this trigger quote, then this has to move us into action. And the action that we take always has to be to remove ourselves from the situation, to get distance between ourselves and the aggressor, and to get other people into the boat and make them aware that something is going on here that should not happen right now. What kind of quotes am I talking about? It could be, oh, I need the bathroom, sorry, I need the bathroom. Oh my goodness, I have to use the bathroom. Right now you can't see me because I removed myself from that situation, and that's exactly the way that it should happen, right? It's very unlikely that this guy just keeps jogging after you when you're on the way to the bathroom. Or you could say things like, oh, I gotta make a phone call, let me make a phone call. So, and then you grab your phone, which you can also use as a potential weapon, and you could remove yourself from that scenario. Or you could just say, cherry pie, cherry pie, cherry pie, cherry pie, cherry pie. What was I gonna get? Oh yeah, cherry pie. So what I'm trying to say, it really is not important what you say. What's important is that you do not respond to their questions. Once you do, you give them control of the situation. Now, once again, imagine somebody comes up to me and he goes, you want a piece of me? And I go, bathroom, 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 bathroom. Then, once again, it is very unlikely that this person follows me. However, if I respond to his questions and I go, you mean me? I didn't do anything. I never looked at you. I don't even know you, man. What do you want from me? I keep playing that game, and my brain is all of a sudden occupied with finding answers to his questions. But those questions are not important, because all he does is he's trying to dominate me with those questions. So, should I be able to remove myself from that situation with that trigger word or with a trigger quote? Then everything's cool, because you're safe again. Should you have failed to do so, then you find yourself in yet the next phase. In the next phase, it's really getting dangerous, because in the next phase, it's getting physical. Should I not have been able to remove myself from the situation or apply the bathroom technique in order to get away, then now we're facing an opponent in a situation where he starts pushing and shoving us. And this is dangerous already, because when somebody pushes us, it could be that we trip and fall and hit our head on the ground, or maybe on a nail that's coming out of a wall. And this is when it really gets life-threatening. So the person, the aggressor, is not supposed to touch us. That is very, very, very important. What's interesting to note is that this whole thing is a ritual. What do I mean when I say ritual? Well, the aggressor has to go through a ritual in order to put himself into a situation or into a position from where he's able to inflict severe pain onto his victim. When I am a civilized human being, then I normally don't go out onto the street in order to just, punch people or kick people. And if an aggressor would really want to inflict the ultimate pain to somebody, which would be killing him, then he'd probably get a gun and just shoot him. However, these are not the things that normally happen on the street. They do happen, especially in times of war they happen, but those are special situations. But what happens pretty much every day are the ritual fights I'm referring to. First of all, the aggressor has to see their victim. So they have to see the victim, and this gives the victim the chance to remove themselves from the situation. Then they have to verbalize something, they have to talk to them. And they use words that are not nice, words like asshole and dog. So words that take away the right of the victim to be on the same, to have the same social level as the aggressor themselves. So the aggressor has to dehumanize the victim in order to put himself into a position from where in his sick head it is okay to kick and punch and severely hurt an asshole, a dog, and whatever other words they may use. And after going through the verbal phase, they're now pumped up enough, they have enough adrenaline in their body that they can now start pushing and punching the person. You may know the pushing phase from the animal kingdom as well. A shark, for example, sometimes rams their bigger victims first in order to see if there's any responsiveness coming from the victim. So if we would, by the time we get pushed, all of a sudden get really loud and use our voice and actually become very physical as well, then this may stop the situation, but it's not very de-escalatory. Everything that we do here is supposed to de-escalate the situation. So it's important to note that we have those stages and that we can take certain measures depending on what phase we're dealing with in order to de-escalate that situation. Let me tell you a little story with regards to this ritual. I used to work as a bouncer, as a doorman for 8 years, and over the time I developed a feeling for escalations. So it was very interesting for me. I would position myself in a corner of the club and I would take a look at the crowd, and I was able to see when a fight was about to take place. And I had my radio close by, so I was always able to tell my colleagues, hey guys, you have about 1 minute until it escalates over here. You have about 30 seconds until it escalates over here. So it's super interesting and very helpful from a self-defense point of view to know that this ritual exists and that these phases exist, because this gives you the chance to measure your chances, to see what is my chance to get out of this in a non-escalatory way, in a non-physical way, and when should I brace myself to actually get physical. Because once we're in this situation where I get pushed, it really gets dangerous, as I mentioned before, because now it could be that I trip and fall and hit my head, or maybe I hit my head against the nail that's coming out of a wall, and that could be life-threatening. So once this is the situation, once I'm already getting pushed, then we are now in a situation from where it's okay to physically defend ourselves, and how we do that, Celine will tell us now.
We always make an impression on other people. And this is especially important when it comes to dangerous situations, because if we were to stand up straight with our shoulders back, we appear to be self-confident. But if we were to do the exact opposite, we would appear to be weak. Now, if there was a person that had bad intentions, they would not look for an opponent, but instead they would look for a victim. And what we are trying to do in this situation is avoid being an easy target, or at least seeming like an easy target, as much as possible. We imagine we are in a situation where someone approaches us and we have to react in a certain way. Now, the most important thing is that we take a defensive and non-aggressive position in this conflict, and that we show that we want to avoid the attack as much as possible. We use our bodily expression to do so by taking a step back and placing our hands in front of our body. Now, when it comes to our legs, it is important that they are placed in a 45-degree angle and that the weight is on our back leg. By putting the weight on our back leg, we can avoid falling if someone was to sweep away our front leg. We place our hands in front of our body, because if our hands were to be on the side of our body, the distance will be too long if someone was to attack us, and we can react more quickly. So let's talk about something that we call the gut signal. What is the gut signal? When we think of situations in our everyday life, there are situations where we feel absolutely fine. And there's also situations where we might feel slightly uncomfortable. Now, when you think, for example, of a traffic light, there is 3 different colors. There's green, yellow, and red. Now, green would be a situation where we feel absolutely fine. There's nothing that worries us in any way. Now, yellow is a situation where we think more critically of the situation, or we're not quite sure how to feel about it. Now, when we move on to the color red, it's a situation where we are in immediate danger and we have to get out of this situation as soon as possible to maintain our own safety. Now, we can apply this concept to situations in our everyday life where a stranger is watching us, for example, or approaching us. Now, we can use our gut feeling to decide how to react in that situation. Now, let's talk about how you can use your language in a situation of danger. You can do this by rising up your voice and yelling. so that you can get the attention of people around you. But this is not enough. You have to directly address people and tell them what to do. For example, hey, the guy with the black shirt, can you call the police? Or hey, lady with the green glasses, I need your help. Because otherwise, people around you wouldn't know what to do. Now, rising up your voice and yelling is also important to maybe surprise or even shock your opponent and to make them feel uncomfortable.
Now you know how to position your body in a way that gives you the most possible safety. I would like to point out that there are not just 4 phases that we spoke about, but there is also number 5. So far, we spoke about the visual phase, the verbal phase, the pushing phase, and the phase of the physical escalation. You're going to learn techniques against all of these phases, but there is also number 5, which is a phenomenon of the newer days, and which is somebody hits the ground and then people standing around start kicking and punching him. In the old days, it used to be different. In the old days, the fight was over when somebody hit the floor. Nowadays, unfortunately, it's not the case anymore. It is my sincere wish that this situation will go away in the future, but it is there right now. We have to deal with it, so this is why we are also going to teach you ways to get out of what I call the out of control phase. So, the girls are going to give you all the physical means that you need now. Have fun practicing, be safe practicing, and I'll see you later.
Now let's imagine a situation where someone has pushed us and we tripped and maybe even fell. Now, to make sure that we can reach the ground in safe manners and that we can get back up safely, we need to apply some techniques for the ground. Now, the most important thing is that we do not use our hands when going on the ground because our wrists are very fragile and they cannot compensate the entire weight of our body. Now, before we go on the ground, we start in this former position again. And we tuck in our chin on our chest so that we won't hurt our head while going down. Now, as you can see, one leg is bent and it stands on the ground. The other leg is bent as well, but it's up in the air. Our toes are pointing outward so that we can be more accurate when kicking a target, like this. Our hands are placed on the side of our body so that we can quickly adapt whenever a person was to rock around us, like this. Now, from this position, we can apply chain kicks in case the opponent is close enough to us, like this. We can also do our chain kicks by rolling over to the side, like this. While doing our chain kicks, we still keep up our hand to protect our head. Now, if we want to get back up again, we place our upper leg on the ground and the opposite hand on the ground as well, and we push ourselves off. As you might have seen, it's very important that we move backwards to get away from our opponent. And also, it is important that we keep facing our opponent at any time to react appropriately in case they want to attack us again. One of the most powerful weapons of our body is our knee strike to defend ourselves. Now, if you don't have a partner that you can practice a knee strike with, you can use your own hands as an imaginary target. We place our hands in front of our body, and from there on, we practice our knee strikes. First, with our left leg, like this. Now you can also switch it up by using your right leg. Now, to bring a little bit more of a variation into it, we can also place one leg in front of us and the other one in the back, and either do the knee strike with our back leg, like this, where we can bring a lot of power into it. And we can also do it with our front leg, like this. I want to point out that you need to be cautious when applying the knee strike, especially when you train with a partner, because it's a very dangerous tool of self-defense. In a real-life situation, the knee strike would be aimed at our head, our stomach, or even our abdomen.
Let me teach you how to safely advance to your opponent. Now, you don't want to open your stance because obviously when you walk like this, you're open here so somebody can kick your groin, which is why we begin from our safety position that the girls already taught you. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that nobody can kick you anymore. So you lift up that front leg in a diagonal fashion to the opposite thigh. So that would be the first thing we do. We bring it up a couple of times, and then we can do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that when you shift your stance, you also put that other hand forward. And always use your front foot to design or to build your defense. Now, after you have built your defense, you bring that foot down on the ground and move that rear foot as well in order to protect your groin once again. We call this the short step. One more time, let's do it together. We bring that leg up, put it on the floor, and also move the rear leg, making sure that our body weight is resting on the rear leg in case somebody should sweep our front foot, that we're always able to lift it up, and also to kick with the front foot if need be. Imagine if you would have your body weight on the front leg and you now want to kick the guy, then you would either have to use the rear leg, which takes a long time because it's in the rear, in the back, or you would have to shift your body weight back in order to be able to use the front leg. This is why we already have the body weight on the rear leg. We are already protecting our groin so that we're able to defend or attack at the same time. So this is the short step. The front foot lifts up, and then we take a step. Do the same thing again, or we change and then we do it here. 1, 2, other side. 1, 2, other side. 1, 2. Then there is the long step. In order to do it, we open up here and then exchange the feet. So from here, I open up, then I make sure that I cover my groin again and take a step forward. We use this kind of footwork in order to take a longer leap, to pass a little bit more distance. So opening up, going forward, and once again, bringing the body weight onto the rear leg. Let's do that a couple of times. Step, 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 and step. Not every situation is equally dangerous. Sometimes it is appropriate to go forward with knee strikes, with punches and elbows, but sometimes it's enough to just give the partner a good push in order to bring him back to their senses. So, how do we push the most effective way? By bringing our body weight behind it. And here's how it goes. We bring our arms up at shoulder width. Then we take our step, and you want to push and extend your arms the second the rear foot moves, because this is where your body weight is resting. Of course, you could do this. You could push and bring your body weight on the front leg. However, if you should be swept now, if somebody should apply a sweeping technique, you would be ending up on the ground again. So you want to make sure that you do it like this, okay? So lift up the front foot, push, use that rear foot, and then bring all your body weight onto it again. Let's do that a few times. 1, 1, 1, 1. By the way, did you know that all the techniques we're teaching here come from the Wing Chun Kung Fu? If you're not familiar with Wing Chun, maybe you're familiar with Bruce Lee. He was one of those practitioners who used to practice the style before me. Anyway, so the most famous technique of Wing Chun is the so-called chain punches. And here's how we do them. I want you to clench your hand into a fist. Make sure you roll those fingers in, and then you place your thumb next to them. Make sure the thumb does not point out like this, and it's not hidden in between your fingers, but it's actually lying next to them. Now, when we strike, we want to make sure that, first of all, we bring that elbow low in order to cover the vital organs that run all the way from the nose down to the abdomen. So this is why the elbow is low, and we position the hand in a vertical shape. And from here, we stretch that arm fully. And once we've done that, once we've thrown this punch, we now place the other hand here by the elbow joint and cross it. And shortly before it reaches its extended state, this is when I bring the other hand back and place it to the same position. Then I cross this arm and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, thereby building a chain of punches, which is why we call them chain punches. Now you can see that I'm not aiming to two different targets, but I'm actually hitting the same spot every time. That's important. Also make sure that you start punching first before you withdraw. Otherwise, if I would withdraw first, then I would give the opponent the chance to come closer. I want to make sure that a punch is there as a distance holder all the time. You could either apply those chain punches in a defensive or in an aggressive mode. Aggressively would mean I take a step forward as I apply them, thereby putting 100% of my body weight behind those punches. And imagine what could happen if you hit somebody to the throat with 100% of your body weight. It's extremely dangerous. Or I could use them by taking a step away. It's like a windmill that is protecting me in order to get clarity on a situation and what's going on. So you can apply them aggressively, you can apply them defensively, but what's important is that you make sure you always fully stretch the arm in order to generate a lot of force and get this force into the opponent's body. One very effective self-defense method is the technique of elbow strikes. Elbow strikes can be applied diagonally, horizontally, and vertically, and I'd really like to take a little time to go through them with you. So I bring the right foot forward and the right hand is being placed on the center just as a means to defend myself against something that may come up. And then I begin by bringing that left elbow up next to my ear and bringing it all the way down, using my whole body to rotate in order to generate force. Now when you apply that elbow, you want to make sure that you don't shorten that angle, but you really make use of the full arm so that you can use this part of your arm to push the partner away and the elbow to really inflict some damage. So we go down and we attack, and coming back, we use the back of our elbow to also attack the guy. So it's not that I just withdraw the arm, both sides, both ways can be used to attack. So we attack once, attack twice, attack once, attack twice, attack once, attack twice, attack once, attack twice. Then I switch my feet, and now I use my right arm. I go down diagonally, I come up diagonally. 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Of course, you can also use the horizontal angle by going forward, attacking with this part, and going backward and still attacking in 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Or we can use the vertical way of coming up. Yeah, this can also be a defense. If somebody gives you a roundhouse punch, you cover yourself while attacking him with the elbow tip at the same time, coming up and going down. This technique here can be applied to the collarbone, for example, if somebody is extremely close. So you can use a downward elbow to hurt his collarbone. Down, up, down, up, down, up. And I'd really like to encourage you to take some time and spend a few minutes on each one of those elbows so that you really get them into your system. Have fun practicing. In the following scenario, Alnina on the right tries to grab Karo and pull her toward her, and Karo uses a technique called Tansel, palm up hand, followed by a technique called Gamsel, downward pressing hand. Here you can see that she twists her arm in order to get rid of Alnina's grabbing hand, and then she uses her second arm to really push Alnina's arm out of the way. Here she applies Tansel, now Gamsel, and then she finishes off the scenario with 3 chain punches, an elbow to the head, and a knee strike to the abdomen. In this scenario, Alnina attacks Karo's arms from the top. She uses her free elbows to get rid of Alnina's arm and once again finishes the scenario with 3 chain punches, an elbow to the head, and a knee strike. What's important is when she gets grabbed, she doesn't focus on her wrists, which are under control, but she uses the next free joint, which will be the elbow, in order to get rid of the attacker's arms. This time, Karo is being attacked from underneath, and once again she uses her free elbows to rid herself of the opponent's grip. Note that once she's free, she uses a grabbing motion to really free herself and then finish off the scenario again with punches, an elbow strike, and a knee. In this scenario, Karo is being attacked with a choke. She uses a turn combined with the upper technique we call kwaijan, the diagonal elbow, and tansao, a lower technique, the palm up hand, to rid herself of the opponent's arms. The key here is to make use of your body weight by turning. The arms themselves are not strong enough, but if you really put your body into it, you will be able to get rid of an opponent who's stronger than you are. Now Alnina chokes Karo from the side, and Karo reacts by rotating her arm from behind, making sure that the knife of the hand faces the front at all times so that she only has to deal with Alnina's wrists and not with the elbow joints that are much stronger. In order to open this rear choke, the first thing Karo does is she places her chin on the chest and lifts up her shoulders. This will open Alnina's fingers. Then she lifts up the right arm and turns around the right shoulder, finishing the scenario with an elbow strike to Alnina's head. Here you can see that Alnina grabs Karo on top of her arms. Karo makes use of this by pushing herself off Alnina, which doesn't require a lot of strength, and then she finishes off the scenario with a knee strike and an elbow to the chin. In this scenario, Alnina grabs Karo underneath her arms and lifts her up. Now Karo has the chance to use her arms, and she does so by eye gouging Alnina and bending her head back. Then she finishes the scenario by elbowing her. Now Alnina grabs Karo from behind. Karo brings her hip to the side in order to create enough room to place some elbow strikes to Alnina's groin. Then she follows up by taking a step behind Alnina and lifting up her arms, which opens Alnina's grip. The last technique is an elbow strike to Alnina's face. This time Alnina attacks underneath Karo's arms. She makes use of this by pulling Alina's elbow toward her while at the same time rotating to the other side and stepping behind Alnina, which makes her fall over Karo's foot. In this scenario, Alnina pulls Karo's hair. She pulls her hand toward her so that Alnina is not able to inflict a lot of pain by pulling the hair, and then she turns around and kicks Alnina to the knee and finishes off the scenario again with 3 chain punches to the throat and an elbow to the head. Here comes a cool headlock defense. The second Karo senses that she's being taken into a headlock, she takes her left arm and puts it into Alnina's face and pulls it back. At the same time, she uses the other hand to open Alnina's grip and finishes the scenario by kicking her to the kneecap. Here's what you can do if you should ever get bear hugged. Twist the opponent's head, but make sure to use a lever by pushing your elbow into the opponent's spine as you twist. Please be careful with this technique, for it's very, very dangerous.